Is Nicole worth pulling? Is she really meant to pair with Bennett? Without Varka or Durin, should you just skip Nicole? Or pull Durin now in 6.6 and grab Varka when she reruns later, is that worth it? Well folks, your boy is here, Nicole has finally been confirmed, and today the most knowledgeable man in the galaxy is gonna break her down for you, hard. Let's analyze Nicole's design and kit together, and figure out whether she's actually worth pulling and how to pull for her. First things first, there's something about this Genshin livestream that genuinely shocked me. And I'm pretty sure it shocked you too. It's this one line the voice actor said. Pay attention now. This is a team-wide buff. Boosting the entire team's attack. Pay attention, this is a team-wide attack buff. When I heard that line, I was like, wait what? An official Genshin livestream just so blatantly, so openly. Called out another character's weakness? No way, this has to be a deliberate design choice, I must be reading too much into it. And to be clear, this obviously isn't something the VAs came up with, it's an official script. Don't blame the VAs. Let's keep watching. Whether it's the on-field character or the off-field character. They can boost their damage in a comfortable combat environment. Pretty reliable, right? Super reliable, super reliable. And the buff applies wherever you go. Wait, hold on. You already emphasized team-wide. Why are you stressing it again with on-field or off-field? And then a third time with wherever you go? Important thing said 3 times, huh? So yeah, this Genshin livestream is the first time they've so clearly called out another character's weakness. I'm sure you all felt it. Look at the bullet comments on the official video, everyone's spamming Bennett. That tells you everything. To a lot of people, this script is basically saying it outright. He's the Bennett killer, go pull her now. That's basically the message, right? Which tells you Genshin really wants your money. At least some folks on that team really want your money. They're desperate, I'm telling you. Oh, I'm not desperate. Yeah, you are desperate. As they say, judge a man by his actions, not his thoughts. On the modern internet. You can deny whatever you want and claim you weren't thinking that. But it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. The modern internet only cares about what your actions look like. Got it? We won't go too deep on the philosophy here, randomly raising the IQ of a video isn't always a good thing. Let's get back to Nicole. So if the official team is hyping her this hard, is she really a bigger Bennett? Not necessarily. Honestly, not necessarily. And I find it weird. Some people inside the official Genshin team are clearly so desperate to slap a bigger Bennett halo on Nicole's head. But the balance team doesn't seem to be on the same page. Let me put it this way. Honestly, whether it's Durin or Nicole, a lot of players, especially in the meta community and those who follow leaker rumors, came running to me on day 1 saying, Brother Dawn, are you still gonna say Durin isn't a bigger Xiangling? Haha, oh my god, what kind of hard, troubled life do you have to live to deserve? Such a powerful understanding of the game? It's genuinely jaw-dropping. Look, if your game sense is weak, just observe the community vibe. Seriously. Look at how the community feels about C0 Durin right now. If Durin were really a bigger Xiangling, there's no way the reception would look like this. It would be completely different. If you played Genshin for 3 or 4 years, you know how a bigger Xiangling would be received in the community. Or how bigger Xingqiu was received back in the day. Old school players, tell me how was bigger Xingqiu received in the Genshin community back then? Now think about it, could a bigger Xiangling possibly be this quiet and underappreciated? Right? If your game sense isn't great, you can use simple logical reasoning. Though, that might be asking too much. Yeah, that's asking too much. But what I'm saying is being a little smarter never hurts. If your reflexes weren't quick enough and you genuinely fell into the beautiful misunderstanding of Durin as a bigger Xiangling, well, just remember what I'm saying here. Be smarter next time. Some things you can improve through effort. Now, some of you might still not be convinced. What if the community's game sense is bad and that's why his rep is low? 99 of players, even the low spender tech experts, didn't notice. But my eyes are the truly clear ones. Maybe the truth is held by a minority. Maybe. I'm Picasso. I'm not laughing, I'm not. I just think, if it really comes down to that, and you firmly believe Durin is a bigger Xiangling, then honestly, there's nothing I can say. I mean, fair enough. But overall, Durin and Nicole's stat values will definitely be higher. They're 6.0 limited 5 stars, after all. Bennett and Xiangling have been around since 1.0 launch, their stats are obviously a tier behind. I mean look, Xingqiu is basically at 3-star stat values now. But the main issue is on Xiangling, because Xiangling is a sub-DPS, and stat values matter a lot for sub-DPS. Whether Nicole and Bennett have a generational stat gap? Hard to say. Really hard to say. Because Bennett is a support. And in Genshin, there's one support ability that a lot of players overlook, elemental application. It's actually an independent system. Why can Child one-shot vape for several times the damage? Because of Xiangling's pyro application, right? So pyro application doesn't count as support? Damage multiplied several times doesn't count as support? But if I increase your crit damage by 300, suddenly that's an amazing support? That's the shallow take of these gacha Pokemon brained players. There are many dimensions to evaluate a character. Genshin's system isn't that shallow. It used to not be. That's why Durin is nowhere close to being a metagod. Think about why Yelan is genuinely considered a bigger Xingqiu. It's because her hydro application is insanely strong. Way above average. Even C0 Yelan's hydro application is slightly weaker than Xingqiu's, and her constellations actually patch that up. C6 Yelan's hydro application, what's it like? Answer me. Right? But C6 Durin, even with full constellations, does his pyro application show any signs of competing with Xiangling? Not in the slightest. Right? And Nicole is falling into the exact same problem now. First, does her energy generation match Bennett's? Second, does her pyro application match Bennett's? Including self-application. Third, healing and shielding are now completely separate lanes. Lots of self-damage mechanics now, you saw it in the Stygian Onslaught. Can Nicole handle survival in those environments? Nope. So you can see Nicole is not a straight upgrade to Bennett. Calling her a strict upgrade is super shallow. Bennett's pyro application inside his own ULT circle is incredibly strong. If you have even a little game sense in Genshin, if you've done enough Spiral Abyss, you'll notice that whenever those frost shield breaking encounters come up, you'll find Bennett and Jean are basically the cryo shield breaking specialists. Can Nicole and Durin do the same? Especially when we're comparing, it's always C0 5 stars versus C6 4 stars. In that case, do C0 5 stars even have a huge stat advantage? Not really. Right? And we always meme on Bennett's uncontrollable pyro, but you can't deny how perfectly his kit synergizes with Kazuha. They can mindlessly swirl pyro. That's why the Kazuha-Bennett combo back in the day was so accessible to even average players. From this livestream, you can clearly see the official team keeps poking at Bennett's weaknesses, saying he locks you in place, that his damage environment isn't comfortable. Everyone knows that. Genshin themselves often use Bennett's pain points to design enemy encounters. Like back with the Ruined Serpent, Bennett's uncontrollable pyro could yeet to tens of thousands HP. Zhongli straight into the sky. Right? Nicole, on the other hand, has a shield. So obviously the official team is hammering her comfortable damage environment angle. But honestly, while the team is calling out Bennett's weaknesses, they're avoiding mentioning his strengths. There's a bit of selective storytelling going on. Because here's the thing, does Yun Jin lack buff power? Then why couldn't she replace Bennett later on? Because Bennett's strength, or how broken he is, doesn't entirely come from his stats. Only low-level Genshin players obsess over the attack number. And another thing. The whole team-wide attack buff thing is kind of a false premise for Bennett anyway. Because many characters, once they can lock onto Bennett's stat snapshot, effectively get team-wide attack. It's just that Genshin's official team, back in the early days, was super sloppy with their tooltip wording, greatly increases interruption resistance, significantly increases interruption resistance. You can't even tell what they mean. They never tell you straight. They wanted to leave themselves wiggle room. So they went with vague tooltip language. As a result, when they design new characters, you literally can't tell from the tooltip whether you can snapshot the buff or not. See, the benefit of vague wording is showing now, right? Whatever the drawback. They don't put it in the tooltip. Can you snapshot? Yes. You have to look it up online yourself. New characters, especially off-field 5 stars, none of them can be snapshot anymore. Let me say it plainly, if it's not stated, it doesn't work. Don't get your hopes up and don't get upset. Every limited 5-star off-field unit going forward will not be snapshotable. I'm calling it now. Honestly, what made Bennett so strong in Kazuha-Bennett comps was essentially boosting team-wide attack, right? Back then, your so-called team-wide attack buff had zero advantage compared to Bennett. But now, when Genshin designs new off-field characters, they're already assuming you'll have Bennett baked in. You'd best be aware of that. On that basis, yes, Nicole's advantage starts to show. But it depends on how much attack she actually gives. If it's just a noblesse tier amount, that's nothing special. But since the livestream is openly comparing her to Bennett, she'll probably give attack values somewhat lower than Bennett. But not dramatically lower, right? But the question still circles back to what we said at the start. First, how much energy generation does Nicole have? How much battery capability? That directly determines whether she can pair with Xiangling. That's number one. Second, how strong is her pyro application? As a pyro character. Back when Xiangling Bennett was so dominant, one of the biggest reasons, like I said, was the absolutely insane pyro application of that combo. By comparison, Nicole Durin's combined pyro application, does it even hit half? I'm thinking maybe half. Maybe. During the livestream, I noticed the host mentioned a detail. After her burst is unleashed, she summons a phantom-like entity that keeps attacking on the field. And the damage that Phantom deals depends on whoever's currently on field. So if Ian San is on field, it deals electro damage. At that point, some folks in the bullet comments got really excited. So it doesn't mess with reactions. High EQ phrasing doesn't interfere with reactions. Low EQ phrasing doesn't apply pyro for you. What you don't realize is a moderate amount of pyro application in combat actually has massive positive value for many team comps. Mainly Vape and Melt. These are the highest ceiling reactions in current Genshin. Old school players know this. At the same numerical tier, Vape and Melt have ceilings way higher than Aggravate or pure mono-element setups. Look at Novelette back when he came out. His mono-hydro numbers were already that high, and people still tried to force Vape with him. Right? So Nicole Durin's lack of pyro application for mono-pyro teams, especially swirl teams, it might not matter much. That's the design intent. But within Genshin's overall meta blueprint, this is a huge disadvantage compared to Xiangling and Bennett. If these two want to be a strict upgrade, even with the design team being super stingy, this is the issue they cannot avoid. A massive problem. Of course, if you go C6 Nicole C5 Durin, you can buy your way to power, sure. Genshin's constellations these days give absolutely insane bonuses. Compared to early game characters, and these new ones are basically constellation warriors by default. Not enough pyro app? Pile on stats. I'm sure current Genshin designers wouldn't design a 500 stat cryo shield enemy now. If they did, Shangling Bennett would just dominate them again. That's not in their interest, right? In Genshin, elemental application has always been important. It's just that recently, Genshin has been trying to downplay it. Because elemental reactions are easy to mess up when you design them. If you're even slightly familiar with Genshin, you probably feel this deeply. Including Barbara's old bug fix. I say bug, anything that benefits players is a bug, apparently. The root cause is that once elemental application gets out of control, all kinds of unexpected things happen. Some characters suddenly skyrocket to a power level the official team doesn't approve of. You can also tell from competitor games why Wuthering Waves design slowly removed elemental reactions entirely. And many newer gacha games, haven't you noticed? Early on, they kinda showed shadows of having elemental reactions. But once they launched, it was a completely different version. They're all watering down reactions. Honestly, it's because all these gacha studios are afraid of breaking their game. I think that's a real shame. A huge part of why Genshin succeeded back then was elemental reactions, right? It's because the community researched advanced elemental theory. Right? Honestly, I think a lot of game studios haven't truly understood this. They haven't thought it through. Even Genshin themselves haven't fully figured it out. The reason your game gained traction was because it was designed to be fun and engaging. Players were willing to dig into your game. But when you design new content, you're so short-sighted, always thinking about how to play it safe. How to avoid mistakes. How to not break the game. If that's your approach, how can you make a fun game? Including current Genshin, they don't dare design new characters with strong elemental application anymore. They're watering down reactions. Honestly, when I see all these teams faced with the high-risk high-reward choice, I'll hesitate, I'll choose the most boring design path. I feel a bit disappointed. That's why so many gacha Pokemon brain players keep saying the most important thing in a game is gameplay. Well said. What gameplay do gacha games even have? Answer me. Your so-called gameplay is diving headfirst into a maze, grinding furiously for 10 hours, and getting 2 double crit. Grab 2 3-star weapons real quick? Answer me. This is exactly why I scoff whenever people talk about so-called gacha game gameplay. Early Genshin? Maybe there was a hint of it. But now? Don't talk to me about gameplay. If you really want gameplay, then I suggest you go play Zelda, that's what real gameplay is. Okay? Today's gacha games, what gameplay? You mean those flash game tier event minigames? Don't make me laugh. Okay, Nicole does have 2 huge advantages over Bennett. First, she's my waifu. That's a critical point. Bennett is all yours, by the way. Husbando versus waifu, that's a significant gap. Second, she's on-field activated. Think about it, ever since Stygian Onslaught dropped, every burst-activated character basically has to sit on the bench. Right? This is why I think Genshin designing Stygian Onslaught was a bit reckless. How? Could they so arbitrarily make the highest endgame mode a cold start mode? Think about it, ever since cold start became a thing, Furina's signature weapon basically died on the spot. Dead in the water. Without warm start, even if you have enough energy recharge, you still have to suffer through the first rotation. Most players will just go with Favonia's sword instead, right? Second point, Nicole's on-field activation is super useful in the open world. Think about Bennett, what is he in the overworld? Trash tier. He literally fences you into a tiny circle. The world is huge, and he traps you in this little box. And when he heals you, he doesn't even fully heal you. It's an OCD nightmare, right? The killer third point, he requires burst activation. Most players don't want to burn their burst in the open world, right? So putting it all together, if you still consider Genshin an open world game, then Nicole's advantages are massive. On field. Activated shields in Genshin have always been a must-pull category for the open world. Why are Xylonin and Anifa so universally praised? Including early Zhongli, why did everyone love using him in the open world? Even though Zhongli's fallen off hard now, steady as a rock is just too sluggish. No utility either. The key reason is that shields in the open world have an inherent, massive advantage over healers. A massive advantage. So Nicole, as an elemental shield with on-field activation, should have huge advantages by default. But her burst doesn't even apply pyro? I'm done with the devs. Think about it. Layla can continuously apply cryo. Anifa continuously applies electro. But with Nicole, it becomes the on-field character's element. Oh man. Well, this is still the pre-release phase, so let's hold out hope. Maybe when she launches we'll find out she actually does apply pyro decently. Hopefully that's how this plays out. Now, a lot of viewers want to ask, is Nicole locked to the Grandmaster? Should I pull Durin now to prep for Varga? Let me tell you straight up, do not pull. Anyone who pulls is a genius. A real treasure. Okay? I've already made it pretty obvious. Look at what kind of support Durin is. Answer me, pyro support for fusion reactions, got it? And where are we headed next? Snezhnaya. Why on earth would you, on the way to Snezhnaya, pull a pyro support that bypasses cryo and hydro? Where's the logic? There's zero logic. And it's a rerun on top of that would make you the ultimate galaxy brain. If that's how you play this game. Oh my god. So should you pull Durin? My advice, only if you can hit C6. If you can afford C6 or 5, then go for it. Otherwise, F2P players, please don't mess around. So if you missed Durin's first run, that's totally normal. Especially since Durin as a character has so much baggage attached to him, and a lot of the community has strong feelings about it, I completely understand. So if you skipped him the first time, pulling him now makes even less sense. He's still a sigil weapon character that bypasses Cryo. Weapon banner, oh my god, both Hydro and Cryo are coming. Next is Sneznaya. Pulling now is genuinely terrible value. Super bad value. And without his signature weapon, let me tell you straight, Nicole's weapon banner this time is poison among poison banners. Absolutely not worth pulling. Look. In your inventory you've probably got things like the Witsit, Skyward Atlas, they look pretty decent, right? Just keep using those. When she releases, check what stat she scales with. If she scales on ADK, just use Skyward Atlas. So, to summarize Nicole as a character. Let's wrap it up. Very simple. She's T0.5 tier. Overall game experience. She can deliver. If you like her, by all means F2P pull her. C0R0, no wailing. No malicious wailing, I won't recommend that. Seriously, let's not wail maliciously, sound good? I'm seeing more and more agreed comments rolling in. Honestly though, even this T0.5 rating. I think we need to think it over. Why? Because we need to see who's in the 6.7 art reveal. Is it the marionette character? I have a feeling Nicole isn't being treated all that well. I don't get the sense she's a flagship character. The preview was only 30-something minutes long. What if the marionette's positioning is like Skirks? Cinematics maxed out, full red carpet treatment. The kind of end-of-version flagship character. Then we'd need to reconsider, honestly. But on the flip side, if 6.7 has no marionette, or if the marionette's design is mediocre, then yeah, you can absolutely see 0 or 0 Nicole. Trust me, longtime viewers of this channel. Many of you are sitting on 300, 500, 600 wishes saved up, right? So we'll see when the time comes. For Nicole right now, we can't see her constellations yet, the preview only revealed her mechanics. But I can tell you, it's either C0 or 0 just to try her out, to round out your team comp going deeper is unnecessary. Because going deeper inevitably means pulling Grandmaster Barca and Durin too. Pulling at the tail end of the version just creates problems for yourself. Yeah. Totally unnecessary. As for Nicole's elemental mastery talent, the preview wasn't very clear. But in my view, it's just a question of teaming up with Sucrose, Emily, or Mona. But here, I also want to issue a warning. Genshin really should sit down and review their power design philosophy. Think about it, when I post a community update, do you know what the most upvoted comments are? They're all asking, if I don't have Barca and Durin, can I still pull Nicole? Do you know why everyone is asking this? Has Genshin reflected on it? It's because of Hyperbloom, Quick and Aggravate, the whole pattern is crystal clear by now. Everyone has figured out Genshin's current power design direction, every character is locked to another, all chained into the same framework. If you only pull one, the strength just doesn't deliver. It massively regresses. Or rather, not doesn't work at all. If you pull only 2 of 3, the strength of the 2 takes a 20 hit. Isn't that the case? Tons of gacha games are like this now. Characters are bound to each other to death, leaving players zero room to express themselves, zero room for creativity. Team compositions are all pre-written by the devs and the talent. Descriptions. Including Wuthering Wave's new character recently, the banner numbers were rough. Why? Because players had subconsciously decided she was locked to a male character. Without that male character, they're not pulling either. Honestly, I totally understand the position of these dev teams and studios when it comes to gacha games. In their hearts, Genshin, being so insanely profitable, is naturally their dream model. They tend to overstudy Genshin. But frankly, a lot of Genshin's current design philosophy is already outdated. Severely outdated. There's really no reason to mindlessly copy their decisions and behaviors. Honestly, I know Genshin is no longer the industry benchmark in certain areas. For example, art design. Gueshu mentioned this before when he talked to many industry insiders. He found most of them now use Wuthering Waves as their benchmark. Especially for character art design. He said, "That's the truth. The honest truth." Over a year ago, when I was talking with industry professionals, including some game designers, I already noticed they were using Wuthering Waves as the benchmark for character modeling, quality, and art. Genshin had already stopped being the benchmark. But that was over a year ago. Over the past year plus, Genshin has been pushing hard to catch up on character modeling. Just look at Skirk and you'll see. Genshin actually knows it's fallen behind. In some areas, I'm guessing just speculation. They're trying to keep up appearances. Honestly, I sometimes feel that the player community, a lot of players' eyes aren't really sharp. When Wuthering Waves first launched, I said the modeling was clearly stronger than Genshin's. And there were tons of people going blah 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 disagreeing with me. Back then. Now look at the world that Anunta's Unreal Engine 5 builds, compared to Wuthering Waves' Unreal 4 world, it's not even in the same league. And there are still a bunch of fanboys insisting actually, it's not that far behind. They're just being stubborn. This time it's a bit better, this time they say behind, but not by much. It's not like before, when they used to claim. Where exactly is Wuthering Waves modeling stronger than Genshin's? That's how it was before, you know? This time the gap might be a bit too obvious. Even hardcore fans say we didn't lose by much. This doesn't count as losing by much. Then they pivot the conversation to character modeling. Sometimes it really makes me sigh. Why does a sizable portion of gacha game players seem unwilling to admit certain things? Is it really an eyesight problem? It feels strange. Or is it a taste issue? But industry professionals, they're mostly trained pros. So their average aesthetic judgment is definitely a tier above the average player. You can't see it, but I can. They can see it too. But even so, in some areas I think their judgment isn't that sharp either. Including Genshin's current design philosophy of binding characters too tightly together. In my view, this is a huge blow to gameplay. This is what I can't understand about people talking about gacha game gameplay. Honestly, with this kind of... With all team comps locked in like this, look at the player community now. Everyone subconsciously thinks you can't pull this character. I don't have Barca, I don't have Durin, so I can't pull Nicole. Right? Including what I mentioned earlier, without that one girl from Wuthering Waves, you absolutely can't pull. Most players subconsciously develop this mindset. Why? Because of you devs. You're the ones designing the game this way. When you design games like this, players develop this subconscious mindset. How can your banner revenue possibly be good? You design characters this bound together for the sake of banner sales. And in the end, players are subconsciously skipping specific characters because they don't have the prerequisite ones. Isn't that backfiring on your own revenue? Dragging your own numbers down? So is this kind of power design actually short-sighted? This is something the entire industry's balance designers should seriously think about. When designing teams, is it really necessary to bind them this tightly? Doing this kind of binding over the long term, will the game lose its gameplay depth? Will it lose its room for creativity? And eventually create unhealthy psychological patterns in the player community? This is exactly why I say the entire industry can't just mindlessly copy Genshin. I analyzed this before, the biggest difference between Star Rail and Genshin is that in version 4.0, Star Rail also added a category-locked concept, the Path of Remembrance. But within Path of Remembrance, they didn't do extremely strict segregation. Unlike Genshin, where Hyperbloom, Crystallize, Virgin, and Catalyst teams, frankly, the code itself has them split. Hyperbloom DMG bonus, Crystallize DMG bonus, Virgin DMG bonus all separated. Internally, they're strictly walled off. If you don't fit into one specific lane, your team strength takes a massive hit, right? The buffs from Furina don't apply across systems. Fine, you have Hydro reactions as a category, but why even within Hydro do you slice it up like sausage? So finally, compare it to Star Rail. In a Silver Wolf team, would you add Silver Wolf Path of Elation DMG bonus? Then add another Facial Path of Elation DMG bonus? Right? It's literally name locked. Once I lay it out like this, doesn't it click? It's literally calling out names. I mean, do you have any confidence that before Genshin shuts down, you'll see a second Hyperbloom main DPS? Any confidence? No, right? So who exactly is Hyperbloom DMG bonus for? It's essentially Naikiba's personal damage bonus. Right? Right? It's actually hilarious. The ironic thing now is Star Rail has been smeared as mutual locking, but in the end, the one with the least strict locking is Star Rail. Other games have completely separated their teams, every team neat and tidy in their lanes, right? Whereas Star Rail isn't tied down, it even let off meta characters. Catch a sip of soup, right? Take Blade, pure nihility element. He might let Acheron grab another sip too. Star Rail right now, between different characters. There's actually variety in team building options. After Seal's buff, you can grab any 3 classmates and clear Divergent Universe scoring. Take Star Rail's Memory of Chaos and the upcoming Apocalyptic Shadow 2, the design philosophy is probably the same. By Van Yule. Find that these team archetypes can split into 2 teams. Why can they split into 2 teams? Because they synergize with old characters. They synergize with old characters, the logic holds up, you can field 2 complete teams. But in contrast, a lot of games right now feel like there are literally just 4 slots. 3 slots laid out in front of you, paved and finished. Plugging in old characters is really hard. This is probably also because other games aren't that proactive about buffing old characters, honestly. Why did Star Rail buff Sparkle? To sell Firefly. Why buff Wawa? To backstop Facial. Why buff Black Swan? To pave the way for Kafka and Hyacinth. Why buff Firefly? Because she's high popularity, my waifu. Why buff Yanqing in Star Rail? Why buff Welt? Highly likely. It's because next he's going to team up with Himiko in some way. See? Star Rail keeps relentlessly buffing old characters specifically to pair with new ones. That breaks down the walls, you know? But Genshin? At this rate, Raiden Shogun's buff is going to come in version 10.0. We haven't even gotten the first batch of post-Natlan characters yet, right? Mondstadt if they buff 1 more Knights of Favonius Bond, 1 batch a year. By 10.0, when they finally announce a Raiden Shogun buff, oh it'll be so touching. Genshin really has the manpower and resources to go build an in-game QQ show. I'm done with them. What was it called again? Stellar Reunion or something? I mean, come on. Wuthering Waves is even worse, there's literally never been any news about buffing old characters. So this might be even more responsible for the hard walls between characters. I'm guessing right now, the vast majority of gacha game industry professionals should really sit down and think this through. Is the current setup actually problematic? Look at today's model. More should accelerate the pace and rhythm of buffing old characters. Every time Star Rail buffs are mentioned, there's always these salty fanboys frothing at the mouth going, oh how did Star Rail buff Jinglu? Blah blah blah. Come on. Sparkle, Black Swan, Seal, Firefly, Welt. Look, Star Rail's pace of buffing old characters. The quality is getting higher and more consistent over time. Yeah. You guys are still stuck there, obsessing over the same old tiny details. You know what other devs are thinking when they see this? They're thinking, wow, Star Rail buffed their old characters and still got flamed for it. These players won't be satisfied unless every old character gets buffed to the level of the meta picks. Better to be smart like us, don't buff old characters, just quietly rake in the cash. Is that what you guys want to see? Don't make me laugh. Seriously, stop making your boy Dongu laugh. Some of you players, I genuinely don't know what to say. You live like bitter nags who won't allow anyone to make a single mistake, meanwhile you yourself get chewed out by your boss 10 times a day. Right? You act like bitter nags, latching onto every little detail. And when other devs see this, what do you think their takeaway is? The less you do, the less you get blamed. Do nothing, get blamed for nothing. Get it? So honestly, a lot of you sweethearts in the gacha community, your emotional intelligence, your big picture thinking, I feel like I just can't get through to you. By this point, I trust the genuinely smart viewers with good comprehension skills. And even the average viewer can see it. Dongo, I might look like I'm just venting frustration at the industry, frustration at the lack of ambition in gameplay design, but actually, this frustration is deeply tied to Nico's design itself. It's tied to how the Genshin community, the meta community, the moment any character comes up, immediately reflexively says. Subconsciously, the flip side of that, without so and so, you can't run this character. It's all connected. If you can untangle the logic behind it, that means your IQ is on the higher end. Congrats. So honestly, Nico's design, the implications behind it run pretty deep. Why is it that in today's gacha community, players subconsciously feel that one character can't function without another? If this trend keeps going, is that really a good thing? I get it, you assign characters into roles and lanes. But assigning roles isn't like the college entrance exam. It's not the higher the score, the better. There are diminishing returns. I hope some of these textbook brain 985 grad industry folks who maybe haven't had more than 5 girlfriends in their life, sometimes you've got to look at problems from multiple angles. Some things genuinely aren't better just because you push harder on them. And then there's reworking old characters, bringing them back into the current meta environment, which in turn makes the game more fun. In the vast majority of gacha games right now, isn't this a seriously under-prioritized issue? These are questions every dev needs to sit down and think about for themselves. I really hope some devs stop just paying lip service to their ideals. When it actually comes down to execution, I don't see it. I don't see your ambition. I don't see any pursuit of so-called gameplay quality whatsoever. Time for some serious self-reflection, Donggu. Your 28cm good guy here is a busy man too. Don't make me point out every single problem. Alright, that's it for today's video. Oof, accidentally made another half-hour video. I'm exhausted. If you enjoyed it, smash that like button. If this video hits 6,000 likes, I'll do a follow-up video diving deeper into this topic. Sound good? If you're interested, hit subscribe. From now on, this is your CP guide. One click triple tap the channel for more high-quality gaming takes down the line.